So a very warm welcome to Jenny Burrell, the wonderful Jenny, who I met really properly for the first time last year when she came to the State of Birth Symposium, and the amazing feedback. We were just talking about realness and authenticity that shines through. And you run Burrell Education, and you can tell us more about that in due course. But I'd like to know, where are you today?
I am in my little mom cave. Every mom needs one of these places. It's just dedicated to all of the things they love. I'll come to that in a second. But my mom cave is in a kind of nana flat on the side of my house, and I live on a farm in Chichester, in the south of England, near to Brighton. Most people know Brighton.
And what's the weather like where you are today?
Dreary, grey, but the grass is happy.
Oh, happy grass.
Yes.
Lovely. So I'd like to know, what were you like as a girl? Say about 10 years old, around that kind of age.
So before we started, I said, I'll go get some tissues, because that question brought up quite a lot for me. And so about 10 was possibly the last year of my childhood that I was happy, because we had a family tragedy when I was 11. And that really, that changed everything. And from 11 to 16, from 11 to 16, everything changed, in my family and in my life. So I remember actually having some psychotherapy in my 30s, and the psychotherapist said to me, imagine yourself as a child. And I remember this one dress that my brother had bought me, and I was wearing that dress, but like my face, my mouth was like it had been erased, like airbrushed. And I think from that point, the 11 to 16, then I really literally just, almost like went mute, I definitely was not functioning properly yet.
So if we go first of all to before that happened, how would you describe yourself in that last year where you were really happy?
Yeah, super jolly. Well, that was still junior school, and I think of that time as brilliant. So I was born in 69, so I'm a child of the 70s, and therefore there was no kind of like bad food then. So we used to have, well, nobody knew it was bad. So we used to have the Corona pop man come, and each of us kids were allowed one crate, that is 12 bottles of pop a piece. Yeah. And I always had dandelion and burdock. And I existed on a diet. I don't know how come I haven't got diabetes now, but I existed on a diet of dandelion and burdock pop and pear drops. I might have thrown in a few tubes of polos, just for variety, and playing out. I grew up in Birmingham, and we would just. That's it, you just go, don't you? You leave your home and you play out all day long, and you come back for sustenance. Few swigs of dandelion, burdock.
And did you like school?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did like school, and I liked school until obviously then I went to the bigger school. But yes, so as a little kid, lots of fun and lots of good West Indian food, very fond of pork, pigs, trotters, all of that kind of like innards eating food, which a lot of West Indian, my parents were older, or they used to make. And yeah, and I just think good times. And we used to go to church, and I used to sing, and then we had a choir at church, and I used to sing. And yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
And then, yeah, you were talking about this phase where you were mute because of the tragedy that had happened, and sort of how, as you came to the end of secondary school, how did you then navigate what was going to happen next in your life? Did you have a clear idea of what to do next?
No, I didn't actually, and it's a bit of a weird story. So after school, I thought, oh, I'll become a secretary. Yeah, aiming high. And I went to this place in Birmingham. It was called Sight and Sound, and there you learn to become a secretary. Old school, touch typing, audio, filing, all of this kind of stuff. I mean, it doesn't exist now, does it? And when I was at that school, I won an award. The award was, Student of the Year, and the principal said, "Well, how many O levels have you got?" Because I didn't find it that hard, to be honest. And I said, "Oh, I have 10." And she said, "Well, why are you here?" And I said, "Oh, well, because, I need to get a job." And she said, "Well, if I can find you a job." I said, "Well, my dad says I should get a job." And she said, "If I can find you a job, you should go to do A levels. You could go to university easily." And I was, yeah. And so I went home to my dad, and he was like, "No, you need to go and get a job." And she found me a job. She found me a Saturday job where I worked at the local newspaper doing typing from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m. at night. I'm absolutely sure that's illegal for a 16-year-old. I was like, anyway, but it was a thing called a copy taker. In the old days, you would type on a typewriter with carbon. You'd take it out of the typewriter, you'd hold it up in the air, and you'd shout, "Copy!" And then a small boy, literally a boy, would run to you. You'd give it to him. He'd run the length of the room to the editors. It's nuts, isn't it? It's nuts, doesn't it? And yeah, and so I got this Saturday job, and then I went to do A levels, and then after A levels, then I came to London to study, and I did my degrees in biochemistry and microbiology. I still haven't got to how I've got to here, have I?
No.
So I had no idea at all. Quite literally every single thing. Yeah, there has been no plan. But I've arrived at each area, each thing, and it was right for that time. Yeah.
So you finished your degree, and then what were the next steps from that? Was it again just sort of circumstance, or?
Yeah, this people will go, "What?" So I, in uni, we had band society, and I joined that because, I used to sing at church, and we made a little band, and it was called For Me, this band, and there was a competition to have a record on this album. The album was called Planet London. All right, and so we win. We get our record on this flipping album. And the record company guy had a band as well. And so we went to the place to record it and everything, and it was wonderful. And it was because we were just like student band doing crappy gigs in the student union. And yeah, and we recorded this track, and suddenly I then believed, oh my gosh, we are a band, oh my gosh, I am a singer. And he said, look, hey, I've got this tour going to Japan and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, looking for a backing singer. You fancy the gig? Now, bearing in mind, I'm just about to graduate, so I think I've ordered my cap and gown for the ceremony. Next step, I, obviously graduate, and then I go back home and I say, yeah, so that thing whereby I was going to go and work at Marks and Spencer's to learn how to put the chocolate into the croissant, that job. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm going to Japan next week. And so that was it, really. Yeah, that was it. I just thought, this is great. And I traveled and I traveled and I traveled and I sang. And so I was always a backup singer for this other band. And backup singer is the best job in the flipping world. Zero pressure, all the good stuff, the lights, the good stuff, the travel, no pressure. And so great job to have. And then I had my own band, and I had two in the end, and we had good success. Played at great places like Glastonbury and Ronnie Scott's and things like that. And we had a record deal on publishing deal on Chrysalis. Yeah. And then
well,
I think
before we go any further, there's just something that came to me. I was interested. You're saying that you sang in the church, and I wondered, did you sing during that secondary school time? Was that like a separate place, like a safe place where you could use your voice, or were you also quiet there as well?
Oh, that's a great question. No, yes, I did carry on. I carried on with that until until I think possibly about 16, 17. Yeah, so that was the one place where and so then that takes me to 28, and at 28 then my father died unexpectedly. He had a heart attack, and I'd been doing a lot of traveling by then, and I was wiped out, I was totally in the camp of go hard or go home, and it was just like, woof. And I really thought, obviously that was my first experience of somebody that I knew, like seeing a dead body and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, something happened, and I just
brought you down to earth.
I want to be at home. I want to be at home. So I thought about it. It was quite hard to make this transition because I was so used to, the travel and it's very addictive, that life. I could never really settle with sort of the normalcy of life, which was, doing laundry and all that stuff. But one thing that I did do was always when I'd come back off tour, because obviously I'd been drinking beer and eating pizza at 3 a.m, I'd like fatten up, and it would be like I'd hit the gym to literally get myself back to the size. Those days when all the hormones are working properly, you can go to the gym for 3 weeks and shrink 2 stress sizes. But so the one thing that I did apart from sing was gym, because I would, for stage fitness, to be able to keep going for a whole performance. And I then went to the gym, and the teacher didn't come. It was a circuits class, and I said to the instructor at the desk, I said, oh gosh, I want to do my class. Give me the cards and give me the whistle and the timer, and we'll work it out. We can teach ourselves because we've all been going for so long. And I was then in charge, and then when I was doing it, I thought, aha, this is like show business. And I said to the instructor, I said, hey, what do you need to do? What do you need to learn to do this gym thing? And he was studying at the time, and he pulled out his lessons. And I thought, oh, sorry. I said, God, that's really easy. And so I said, right, I'm going to see how I'm going to take this exam to be a gym instructor. And so I did it, not really thinking that I would become a gym instructor. But then as I started getting into it, I thought, hang on a second, wait. So they give you free gym if you become a gym instructor? Like, you don't have to pay for the gym anymore? I thought it was the best thing in the world. And so I became a gym instructor. And very soon, because obviously it's just full of young lads, I, as being one of the only women on the gym floor, and then at that age, fairly old, 28, 29, I then moved towards the pregnant women and the women after baby.
Yeah, so you found your niche quite quickly.
Yeah. Sorry about the noise. Yeah, so so that was it. And then my husband, who is 6 years older than me, he had a lot of girlfriends who then were having babies, and they started saying, hey, I want to exercise while I'm pregnant and then get back in shape after birth. And so, I really became interested in the perinatal journey. And I was really thinking about this. And, thank you for your amazing questions, because I was thinking, and I've stayed true with this all the way along. My interest primarily has been in the journey of the woman to become a mother. And I'll come to where I am now, but that has come up so much for me, since becoming a mum. But now it feels like, in my journey to become a psychotherapist, that's where I want to focus on the perinatal journey and also the journey through the menopause transition.
Yeah, and before, when we were talking, you were saying nothing is wasted, and so you've got the biochemistry and must help with the sort of anatomy and physiology side of the training you do, and you've got the performance element that helps with the training and putting ideas across. So like you say, there's all these strands that have come together into the business that you now run.
And like, people often say, oh, aren't you nervous and all this thing? And I'm like thinking, no, I just kind of, because I do kind of think, because, without being fake, I think I'm more or less the same kind of all the time, but it is show business, and you go the extra mile to give people a great experience. And that isn't about being fake, but it is about creating environments and spaces that are also exciting and inspiring for learners as well. And not just kind of, like my massage space, it's nice. It's a woman's space. It smells good, it looks good, or everything's on point. And because that's part of the experience, isn't it? And so.
So how did it go from, you were in a gym getting your free membership to then realizing, actually, there's something I can offer in terms of the training? There was obviously some drive there.
Yeah, and the drive was, Burrell Education was 15 last Sunday. And actually,
congratulations.
Thank you, still here. And 15 years ago, pre and postnatal fitness exercise was woeful. It was woeful. It was just, I can't actually find another word apart from that. But I actually felt that then there was a lot of this kind of sitting on Swiss balls and, kind of lifting 1K dumbbells and all this kind of stuff. I mean, we've gone from hero to zero, haven't we? I mean, now these days there's people still wanting to do CrossFit, isn't there? But when they're pregnant. But it was just like, how does that look like a woman's life in pregnancy? Many of my clients were working up to 2 weeks before birth, riding the tube in London. I was like, how does that look? How does that kind of work prepare a body for actually the rigors of labor? And then the rigors of kind of being left on your own after 2 weeks after birth, and having to pull that pram up the stairs and having to do the laundry, the shopping, you know, as many women do. And I just thought, there's something wrong with this training, something's wrong. And I then hit upon, you know, I was doing, at the time, Paul Chek was very big in the world of the fitness world. And his big thing was this functional training, whereby the exercise mimicked the real life demands. What a thing. You know, but then it was like, whoa, this guy's crazy. And he, and it was great. And I just said, so why aren't we applying that to the perinatal population? These women work, they work during this pregnancy, they work during the birth, they work after the birth. And and that was it. And so I thought, right, I'm going to pull that stuff from standard fitness across here. And I do remember, you know, my first class, and I did the feedback. I'll never forget this. And it's not that I bear a grudge at all, Tessa. I do not bear a grudge. But one of the feedbacks was, this woman is dangerous. Because I said, well, moms squat and lunge, and they have to push stuff and pull stuff, and they have to rotate, and they have to bend and return. And that's what movement programming needs to be if it's fit for purpose.
Were you ever nervous of doing something new, or do you enjoy that edge?
Yeah, so I need it. I need to push it. And that, like, now I'm at this point again where I'm going, so yeah, I need it. Yeah, I am so easily bored. So I do create, as I always say, I create my own stimulus. I make my own fun. It's not like I'm now looking for someone else to do that for me. But yeah, I love the feeling of the fear and the pushing. Yeah, I do thrive off it.
And has that always been there? Like, can you identify when you were a child that there was that sort of love of the edge, or is that something that you've grown into accepting and looking for?
No, that was never me as a child. But I had a tough time at school, the big school. And I think definitely in the early years of my business, it was a kind of thing, you know, that I would make something of myself. Yeah, I was definitely driven by that thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get, you know, there are some hardships and they've got a point to prove. That definitely is so small in me now, whereas before it was a big part of me pushing. Yeah.
Yeah. The motivations change. You just love it for the sake of it, that edge.
Yeah. You know, keeps me vital, I think. Keeps me vital. But I actually know that now I just need a sprinkle of it. Just need a sprinkle, and I'm happy to not sprinkle, you know, to sit in the jacuzzi and read my book. I'm also happy. I also appreciate deeply the not doing, which that has taken a long time for me to get 100%. Yeah.
So do you want to explain? You said, you know, you're pushing a new edge now.
Yeah. Well, so you know what, I did actually think, and I actually said to 2 people this morning about I am not the same woman who created this business 15 years ago. You know, how long does it take for a body to renew all its cells? You know, 7 years. So twice over, I am not the same woman who created this business. And I just thought, I can give myself the gift of reinvention. And I think sometimes in business, I mean, if in 15 years, many people will have redecorated their sitting room twice and changed the sofa at least once, wouldn't they? But somehow in our businesses, we don't move as well. And I suddenly thought, yeah, and I think we've had this conversation many times. I looked at what I had created and what, and the foundation of what I had created since 2007. And I just thought, that was then. But now I know more. I am more. I am different. I have learned different things. I feel differently about certain situations. And I felt like I needed to mature my message and my offerings to match what I think about now, what I care about now, and actually what the world needs now in terms of women's health. We now have a pandemic in our bones. We are now at fear at being nuked, I'm like, really? And the women we serve, many of them are hanging by a string. Many of them need, safe spaces, safe containers. They need restorative nourishment. They need building up. They need the resilience, rebuilding. From a fitness perspective, they do not need go hard or go home. They need yoga nidra. They need, and I have definitely made that move in all of my soft tissue work, talk about embodied self-awareness and how we as touch therapists can actually be at the forefront of when we put our hands on bodies, we help to bring women back to themselves, into the bodies, out of the head, away from this conceptual awareness into embodied self-awareness.
And are there key moments that have helped you come to this point personally, where you've realised that actually a different approach has been needed?
Yeah, totally. So 2020 was literally the mother of all poop storms for myself and my family. On that very first week of the lockdown, then I had a breast cancer diagnosis, and then also my father-in-law passed away from the virus. So I'm like searching for the size of it. I can't quantify, obviously, the fear, the global fear that was going on, but also that literally our family got, Mack trucked, and I'll reflect on the breast cancer. That I definitely had a sensation of, one of the first things that I asked the doctor was, is this going to kill me? I just needed to quantify, how bad this is. And he said, probably not. And so I kind of, I think I had the mindset of, this is a moment where, throughout my recovery, lots of time, in bed and not obviously being at all well, just that after this, everything must change. After this, everything must change. But also, whatever slight residue of fear of appearing as my authentic self, whatever was left in my body, at that point evaporated. You know, it was just like, really, I just, and I know that it's so easy to say, I don't care what people think of me. But it's just like, I don't even have time. I don't have time. There's so much now that I think, right, oh my gosh, let's go, let's do it. I just.
Is it the difference between sort of thinking, I don't care what people think, and then that real embodied experience of with your whole being?
Yeah.
That,
Let's go. Oh, I'm going to do. But, and not even then to go into the doing mode, but also into the not doing mode and into the being mode. So the not doing, I worked weekends, well, all of my working life. And I just said, you know what? I don't like working weekends anymore. And that was it. And when I made my timetable, I'm looking at my year's calendar here. When I made my timetable for courses for the whole year, there's no weekend working. All courses are on a Thursday and a Friday. And I just thought, well, they'll either come or they won't. But guess what? The courses are filled. And I now have my Saturdays and Sundays clear. So the not doing, and also then a real deep focus on the being and the being inside of myself, and really developing this felt sense, trusting what I feel over this. And it's all, I think I've been very head driven, because actually that's the isn't it? Head. And it's like, thank God for being like 52. Well, guess what? I haven't got anything to prove to anyone anymore. And so it's just like, oh, you know what, girl, you can stand down that part that was keeping you fierce and a bit punchy. Yeah, you can retire. And now we can go to being, we can enter that femininity, that and a femininity that isn't like kind of floaty, isn't like kind of, I think, lace and frills. It isn't like that. It's grounded, it's grey haired, and it's kind of like, I am not wearing that bra because it's awkward and it's annoyed me for 50 years. Yeah, it comes from a different place. So I think that's been the biggest shift, from kind of the parts that needed to keep me safe leading. Now they definitely are retired. They can come into action if as needed, but in general, what I'm concerned about is actually feeling, being, and that inner landscape exploration, which I think when you're quite kind of driven, well, you don't spend a lot of time inside of your body.
And so thinking back to when you were at big school and you're having a hard time, what would you say to her now from this place?
You know what? I would say to her now from this place what I actually said to her then: hang in there. Hang in there, because this is going to end. You're going to be 16 and you can go. Yeah, hang in there. I did already know that. I did know that. And I also knew that whatever was going on there, kind of bullying and all that, and that was like a taste of the real world, guess what, that's also going to happen out there, but you hang on. And it was funny because actually that issue with bullying meant that I really kept my head down, and I walked out of there with 10 O levels, so so
So let's think about the cycles, different kinds of cycles that we have in our life. We're surrounded by cycles, but often people don't pay much attention to them. And I wondered how in your work or in your life, cycles affect you.
Yeah, well, you know what, and full transparency, because again, I mean, I just think these questions are so good, because, and I'm not sure whether we've had this conversation before about my sort of menstrual literacy, because I don't have it, and I didn't have it. So I was on the pill at like 14, 15. And then I stopped contraception when I had a hysterectomy at 40.
Yeah.
So when I'm always in awe of people talking about these cycles, and I'm like, I mean, obviously on an educational level, I can tell you all about the luteal phase and this phase, and I can tell you about that. I can tell you the mechanics of it. But in all honesty, that's not my history. And so this thing about the embodiment, I do a thing called TRE, trauma and tension release exercises, where you kind of shake, and I do a thing called havening touch. So everything that I do now is almost like I'm catching up to listening to my body, and I'm thrilled with what I'm hearing. It's, there is, I now not only can say there is a wisdom, the body has a wisdom. Actually, I know my body has a wisdom.
How does it feel now, though, having missed out on that experience of the cycles? Is there an emotion attached to that? Or it just is what it is?
Yeah, I haven't explored that. I don't know whether there is an emotion attached to it. I mean, I did actually have I had a lot of psychotherapy after the hysterectomy. There was I knew enough to know that time, that event needed something to land on. I knew that. But okay, so this is it. So in 2000, so after the hysterectomy, then I was incontinent. And if I hadn't have had the hysterectomy, then I wouldn't have made the holistic core restore program, the pelvic health program. I wouldn't have, because basically I was looking for answers. It was like, I'm 40 and I'm incontinent, and the doctors say, well, yeah, we don't actually know why, but maybe it might get better. Correct. So I don't know. Without that duress, would I have created that program, which has helped tens and thousands of women? Would I have really done? And because then I was, 40, I hadn't had a baby, literally. And I remember the psychotherapist saying, well, work can be, part of, your, you can birth creativity, through what you create through your work and everything. And I did take that to heart. I did, possibly too much. But then I thought, right, I'm going to make this education for all of these professionals working with women, and it will be something that is more meaningful. But I think out of all of that came the holistic core restore. And that is literally the thing that I'm most proud of. In all of my working life, I'll look back at that and say that was a moment. So yeah, I mean, again, nothing is wasted, because if I hadn't you know, I think the reason why I had the hysterectomy, because I had the uterine fibroids, and I'd had a myomectomy and had them removed, and they'd all come back a year later, and it was nuts. But I think that literally my whole endocrine system was jiggered. I'd been on pill after pill, and then I'd had implants and God knows what for all these years, because I'd always had these like chronically painful periods. And in the 70s, that's what you did. You put school children on the pill, didn't you?
Yeah.
So maybe it was more about sort of my lack of nutrition. You know, I mean, you know, my dandelion and bird
pear drops.
And my pear drops. Yeah, I mean, you know, now if your daughter said she has painful periods, you first look at diet and all the rest of it anyway. So yeah, so out of all of my duress and, you know, the negative things, you know, negative health issues, has come this program, and actually where I am now, what I am building now, you know, which is Burrell Education 2.0. Literally, that's now my label, 2.0, because it had to be something where I was showing people, they'll be thinking, why is it 2.0? And, you know, they'll click that to see what's going on. And what's going on is a business that is very much grounded, you know, I called it a holism based business, which is like our being is best understood when we appreciate the interconnectedness of the parts. And I think the allopathic model, no, I don't think, I know, the allopathic model wants to divide everything up into these departments. And it is this kind of people being almost like separated from their bodies, and, you know, yeah, and the body and pathology, you know, all we need to make the shift from it being about the allopathic model and the curing of disease to it being a holistic model, a holism model, and it being about the promotion of health and unity and homeostasis. And it's that because I grew up with the allopathic model and also a patriarchal model, you know, of you know, coming from fitness and even soft tissue therapy. Yeah, so there weren't many people like women of my age creating courses. And so now it's like, oh right, yeah, I need to stay to do this because I can bring everything that I've learned thus far. You know, I came from that patriarchal model, I came from the allopathic model, and now it's like, shut the front door. What we want. It's just like, yeah, do you know what, this being can create and deliver life. We got this back away. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now. So the holism, and then also you know, I gave you the title of that book, and I've so taken it to heart, the
embodiment and resilience.
Restorative embodiment and resilience. And that thing of, there's one triangle, one image that also represents the journey now, which is, you know, we must pause. And we must pause, we must stop in order to be present, to download or upload the wisdom that is fully available to us, but which is occluded by the crazy life world that we live in.
I was going to say, I think that's why it's so interesting to look through a cyclical lens, because whether it's thinking about the breath in and out, you know, from that simple level to seasonal, you know, thinking about how the natural world has that time when the fields are fallow and it's the soil is restoring we've got this pattern again and again, this archetype in nature, and we've been ignoring it for so long.
Because the men have been in charge of defining work. And so, yeah, so this is it. Yeah, so you can't, it's very big. It's my calendar for the year. And you can see that there is, so I'm creating my own cycle because I don't have a cycle. So December off, you can see August off, I'm going to Bali. Yeah. And then also April is off as well. And those are nice things in there. Those are events I'm going to, and my new shed is coming. So so I then thought to create, again, give myself the gift of this after all these bloody years working. I think I will do the work rest and have a 9-month year when then I have like a whole month of rest.
And I think you've shown really beautifully how it was a mind block before, thinking, oh, well, people won't come unless I am doing the trainings on a weekend. And actually, it still works. And yeah,
it's nuts, isn't it? But yeah, but who taught that? Okay, so, and this is not man bashing. I think this is just reality saying that initially in fitness and in massage, most of the tutors were men. Well, the thing is, most women with children know that Sunday is really important because you want to make a nice meal generally, or it is like tight family time, isn't it? It's something where all of you are in the house together. But also it is your prep day, isn't it? Where's the PE kits, trousers, the pressing of clothes, the finding of shoes, all of this kind of stuff. And when you lose a Sunday, oh yeah, and you arrive at Monday morning, you're a bit of a basket case person.
Yeah, or you go away on holiday and you need a day to be able to get some food into the house. Those days are incredibly important.
Yeah, and because if we arrive at Monday all kind of like in a kerfuffle, that then trickles down to the kids, we're the mothership. We go down, everyone's coming with us. And so again, for our health and well-being, our mental health, and creating space in our lives, we need to manage. Basically, we need a Sunday. We need our Sundays, and that's that. And you know what? And it was mad because when I started canvassing the people on the courses, my courses, before I made this decision, everybody said, "Oh God, yeah, I need Sunday." Because as well, if you work on a Sunday, then you end up doing all week, and then you do the weekend, and then you go into the next week. So you'll end up doing like a 12-week period of work, won't you? Yeah. So
24/7, keep going, keep pushing.
That's not. Yeah. So as a woman offering education, I had to actually walk the talk here. Oh yeah. So yeah, we're not doing that. And it's funny because now the courses are on Thursday and Friday. And guess what? Magically, people do manage to find people to do the school run for them and the pickup. And a lot of people are like, dodge 2 weekdays of
bonus. So I'd love you to tell me, you've already told me some transformational moments, but I wonder if there's something that really stands out to you.
Well, I think most recently, just this the pandemic, the cancer. It's created something so, it literally landed me on my ass. Yeah. So, boom. And but I still believe there was love there, no harm was meant to come to me, and the very fact that I'm still here is proof of that. And it was literally a hard stop that I needed. And actually, you know what, a transformational moment, actually, because although I had my hysterectomy at 40, I still had my ovaries. And, you know, just for anyone who has an early hysterectomy, don't be thinking, you know, and you leave your ovaries. Guess what? There's stuff chugging along. And I think chronologically and spiritually, my body kind of knew, kind of sort of last year and this year, 51, 52 now, that I am in postmenopause. Something happened, and I am beyond grateful to be this age, to be right here at this point. This is the most potent age ever in a woman's life. Potent, this stuff. And yeah, so for me, that transformation, that final transition to postmenopause, and yeah, I would say actually I'm really grateful for all the wisdom arriving courtesy of this life phase. This is bonkers. You know, like now, you know, somebody asks me to do anything. There's literally no, I don't really have any kind of like, will they like that? You know, I've delivered something, will they like it? Or if I'm doing something, you know, what will they think of me? And all of these things that, you know, worried me. Is this good enough? What will they think if I don't come to this party or this event or whatever? All of this stuff literally has gone away.
That sounds very freeing.
That's right. I think I've definitely been, I've lost a lot of load. And it was mad because, you know, when I was before, I think it was like September 19? No, it was after the pandemic. So September 2020, sorry, I beg my pardon. So I had, if you search the internet for me, I had literally hair down to my bottom. I had dreadlocks, you know, 25 years of growth of dreadlocks. And I just remember having a therapy session with my therapist, and I just said, my God, I just got to get all this stuff off me. And I whipped my hair around. She'd never seen it, you know, because I'd always sat like this. She goes, God, that's a lot of stuff behind you. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. And I literally just looked here for my scissors, and I just started. And as soon as I'd done it, I looked in the mirror and I went, oh, there you are. And yeah, so I feel bold, but from a beautiful place, not bold from this kind of that's a very immature place. I feel bold from, this is my birthright. This is my birthright. I came here to have a full and plentiful life and truly express myself, and I will. So it's a much softer kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful place to finish. I just love that image of you getting the scissors, snip, snip, snip. There we go. Amazing. So tell people where they can find you and what you're up to.
Well, you can find me at burrelleducation.com, and from there you'll see everything. In a few months' time, we'll have the new website with my Burrell Education 2.0. So if you go there and you see it's not 2.0, hang on, 2.0 is coming. And yeah, I'm doing stuff, you know. There's no need to punt. I always believe, you know, in all of these years, people come, and I'm always cool with when they arrive. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been really interesting to hear the journey.
Were you surprised? Because I think you know some things, but were you like?
Yeah, I didn't know anything about the singing
Ah,
and the groups.
yeah,
But now you've said it, I can totally imagine it. So
yeah, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
thank you, Tessa. Thank you for being you. I'm so glad that we met, and you know, I've got a lot of love for you. You know, I don't know you particularly well, but each time you drop into my email box or you ask me to now participate in things, you know, it's always with a really happy heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Kindred spirits.
Yes. All right then.